The horse collapsed first, legs folding in the dust with a crack of bone. The woman tumbled after, her body rolling across the gravel, skirts torn and face caked with dirt. Samuel Harlow pulled the reins of his own mare, the sudden stillness of the desert pressing in, broken only by the harsh rasp of her breathing. Her lips parted. The words came raw, ragged. "Just kill me quick." Samuel swung down from the saddle, boots crunching dry earth. She clawed at him with fingers bloodied and split, but her strength failed. The woman sagged against him, heat burning off her skin like a fevered fire. He gathered her up, bones light as kindling, and laid her across his horse. The ranch lay a mile farther west. Low buildings crouched beneath a sky bleeding red with sunset. Cicadas shrieked from the sagebrush. By the time he carried her through the door, the light had drained to ash. He set her on the bed. Her body shuddered, whispering nonsense through cracked lips. Samuel's chest tightened. He reached for a blanket, the same one his late wife once stitched, and pulled it over the woman to ease her trembling. Her voice rasped again, breaking through. Don't look." But Samuel's hand hesitated. The blanket bulged wrong over her shape. He gripped the edge and pulled it back. What he saw drove him 2 steps backward, the lamp quivering in his grip. Her back was a ruin. Lashes ripped the flesh open in crisscross tracks, blood dried black and flaking across her skin. Fresh wounds oozed still, raw and angry, and across her shoulder a brand, charred deep, burned in the shape of a crooked iron mark. The stench of seared flesh rose sharp, turning Samuel's stomach. He clutched the bedpost, breath rasping as though the scars belonged to his own skin. The woman turned her face, hair falling in dusty clumps across her cheek. Her eyes, wide and sunken, locked on his. She shook her head once, violently, though the effort made her whole body spasm. "They'll come," she whispered. Her voice cracked like dry timber. "They'll come tonight. Don't let them take me back. Kill me first." Outside, the night wind scraped against the wooden walls, rattling the loose shutters. Samuel stared at her, the lamp's glow carving deep shadows across the ruined flesh of her back. The weight of her words hung heavy in the room. Somewhere out in the desert, a coyote cried, long, mournful, stretching in his silence. Samuel set the lamp down with a trembling hand. His jaw tightened. The scar of his own past throbbed in his chest, though no mark showed. The woman's body gave a sudden shiver. Her eyes fluttered shut, and the whisper of her breath faded to shallow rasps. The room pressed in with the smell of sweat, blood, and dust. Samuel stood alone at the bedside, staring at the brand burned into her flesh, the horror of it carved deeper than the scars. And from her lips, barely louder than the creak of the wind, came the last breath of warning. The shutters rattled like bones in the wind. Samuel set the rifle across the window ledge, lantern light stretching shadows long across the cabin floor. Outside, the desert lay smothered in black, the horizon swallowed whole, but his ears caught it before his eyes did. Hoofbeats. Slow at first, then many. The woman stirred on the bed, her lips cracked, words dragging out between ragged breaths. "They're here." Samuel tightened his grip on the stock. The sound grew, horses moving together, iron shoes striking stone. Then a flash. A torch burned against the night, then another, until fire spread across the ridge like a string of stars being born. The riders came down the slope, the glow of their flames crawling over the land. Dust rose with them, swirling in the torchlight. Samuel's breath drew steady, his shoulders square. The first shot cracked through the dark, splinters jumping from the window frame. The woman gasped, clutching the blanket to her scarred back. Samuel leaned into the rifle and returned fire. The muzzle flashed, sharp against the night, and a rider toppled sideways from his horse, hitting the ground with a hollow thud. The others roared curses, guns barking in reply. Bullets hammered the walls, glass shattered, the cabin shuddering beneath the hail. Samuel shifted, his movements clean, practiced, one shot to the torchbearer, another to the horse's reins. Flames spilled. A bee screamed. Chaos broke the line. The woman pressed her face to the pillow, muttering words through clenched teeth. "You should have let me die. You don't know what they'll do." Samuel reloaded in silence, shells clicking, steady as clockwork. Another shot rang, another rider crumpled. Yet more came on, their voices thick with fury, echoing off the land. Then, from beyond the fire and smoke, a voice cut through. Deep, mocking. "Harlow!" The name carried across the night, stretched by laughter. Samuel froze, jaw clenched. The woman's eyes widened, her voice a hiss. "They know you." Another torch lifted high, and the leader rode forward, his silhouette sharp against the burning glow. His voice rolled again, cruel and certain. "We remember you, old man. Ain't no hiding what you were in the war." The woman turned her face toward him, lips trembling. Samuel did not answer. He only raised a rifle once more, sighting down the barrel, the firelight painting his weathered face in hard relief. The hoofbeats shifted, the circle of riders tightening. The night air thickened with smoke and the smell of burning pitch. The cabin walls groaned under the next volley, boards splintering, dust raining from the rafters. Through it all, Samuel's hands never shook. The woman's whisper carried between the cracks of gunfire. "What are you?" But Samuel's answer was silence, the steady pull of a trigger, and the thundering fall of another man into the dust. The night pressed on, black and endless, the torches burning brighter, and the riders closed in. Smoke still curled from the splitboards. The cabin walls sagged with holes, sunlight creeping through where bullets had torn the night apart. Samuel dragged a body from the doorway, boots scraping in the dirt, the rider's eyes glassy in death. Inside, Clara forced herself upright, the blanket clinging to her shoulders. Her breath was thin, her face pale against the lamp's glow. She watched him haul the corpse into the yard. The wind lifted the torn curtain behind her, whistling through broken glass. "They'll be back," she whispered, voice raw. Samuel knelt by the doorframe, sliding shells into his rifle. His movements were steady, almost measured, though his shirt was damp with sweat. His jaw worked as if grinding stone. Clara's eyes followed the graves outside the window, 2 wooden markers on the hill, weather-beaten and lonely. A woman's name carved into one, a child's into the other. Her lips trembled. "You lost them." Samuel froze. The sound of brass clicking into the chamber lingered in the silence. He didn't turn, didn't answer. Clara pushed herself to her feet, staggering a step before bracing on the bedpost. The scars on her back caught the light, red and raw against her skin. Her hand clutched the edge of the blanket tight. "You should have let me die," she said. "I was theirs. They'll hunt me till I'm in the ground. You'll follow me there if you keep me." Samuel finally lifted his head. His eyes were hard, shadowed, the weight of old grief heavy behind them. "They took my family," he said, voice low, flat as the plains outside. "Stagecoach raid. I put down the gun after that. Thought the land could keep me quiet." He rose, the rifle in his grip like it had never left his hands. His gaze shifted to the graves again, then back to Clara. "I was wrong." The words hung like iron in the room. Clara's shoulders shook, but she held his eyes. "I can't run anymore." Her voice cracked, but it did not falter. "If they catch me, they'll do worse than kill me. I want it ended. No more running." Samuel stepped closer, boots thudding on the warped floorboards. He set the rifle down and pulled a knife from his belt, running a whetstone slow along the blade. The sound hissed through the room. "You won't face him alone," he said. Clara stared at him, disbelief flickering into something else. Her hand pressed against the scar on her shoulder, then dropped. She nodded once, slow. A gust rattled the shutters. Dust swirled through the cracks, catching in the lamplight like ash. Samuel slid the knife back into its sheath. His voice carried like a vow, steady and unshakable. "They'll come again, but this land will take them before it takes you." Clara sank back onto the bed, eyes wet, lips pressed into a trembling line. And outside, across the empty plains, the wind carried the faint, distant sound of riders gathering. The canyon wind cut sharp, carrying dust like knives. Hollow Mesa stretched before them, stone walls split with shadows, the ground littered with bones of old cattle gone to dust. Clara gripped the saddle horn, her knuckles pale, as Samuel led them into the mauve rock. The riders were waiting. Torches flared against the cliff face, firelight spilling across twisted smiles and glinting gun barrels. Horses stamped, nostrils flaring, the sound echoing off stone like thunder trapped in a box. The leader rode forward, black hat low, torch held high. His grin showed teeth yellow in the glow. "Harlow," he called, the name dragged long, savoring. "Thought you could rot quiet on a patch of dirt. But the war don't forget its own." Samuel said nothing. His eyes fixed steady, rifle resting across his knee. The canyon held its breath. The first shot cracked, stone chips stinging Clara's cheek. She ducked, drawing the dagger from her boot, the metal trembling in her grip. Samuel's rifle thundered in reply. A rider pitched back from his horse, torch tumbling into the dust. Fire licked dry grass, smoke curling upward. Chaos tore loose. Gunfire rattled against the walls, sparks raining. Horses screamed, men shouted. Samuel moved with calm precision, each shot clean, deliberate. One rider fell, clutching his chest. Another spun from the saddle, blood dark against the dirt. Clara darted low, sliding into the shadows of the stone. A hand seized her hair, yanking her backward. She twisted, the dagger flashing. The blade sank deep, the raider's breath choking out in a wet gasp as he toppled into the firelight. Clara's chest heaved, her face streaked with grit and blood, but she did not stop. The leader's laughter carried through the chaos, cruel and sharp. He raised his pistol, eyes locked on Samuel. "Old dog," he barked. "Let's see if you still bite." Samuel rose from cover, rifle braced, smoke curling from the barrel. His eyes were iron, steady as stone. The canyon swallowed every sound but his breath and the squeeze of the trigger. The leader's shot cracked wide. Samuel's did not. The man jerked back, torch flying from his hand, chest blooming red. He crumpled in the dust, the fire sputtering beside him. The canyon rang with silence, save for the whinny of riderless horses fading into the dark. Clara stood over the raider she'd felled, dagger dripping, her breath ragged. Samuel lowered his rifle, smoke drifting from the barrel. The wind rose, carrying away the last echoes of gunfire. Dust swirled through the canyon, wrapping the dead in its shroud. Clara turned to Samuel, her voice breaking but steady. "It's done." Samuel's eyes lifted to the cliffs, where dawn broke pale over the stone. He gave a slow nod, the weight of his vow etched into the lines of his face. And the canyon held their silence, as if memorizing it. Years later, old voices by the fire would tell it. How at Hollow Mesa a scarred woman and a grieving rancher stood together, and how justice rode with them into legend.